Berachot, 6th chapter, 2nd Mishnah. למדנו במשנה הקודמת, we learned in the previous Mishnah, שעל פירות הארץ מברכים בורא פרי אדמה, that on the fruit of the land you make a blessing, created the fruit of the land. ואילו על פירות האילן, and on the fruit of the tree, אף שגם אלו גידולה מן הארץ, even though obviously a tree also grows from the ground, אין מברכים עליהם בורא פרי אדמה. We don't say the blessing created the fruit of the land. אלא בורא פרי העץ. We say created the fruit of the tree. Why? Because the fruits has more important than vegetation. שמפני חשיבותם, because of their importance, הוציאום מכלל פירות הארץ, they distinguish them from the fruit of the land, וקבעו להם ברכה מיוחדת ומפורטת, and they established for them a designated blessing specifically for them. וכלל, אמרו בגמרא, and there was a rule for it that was said in the Gemara, בשביל להבחין בין פרי העץ לפרי האדמה. How do you distinguish between the fruit of the land and the fruit of the tree? אם כשינטל הפרי יישאר הענף, if you're going to take the fruit, there will still be a branch there, והוא חוזר ומוציא פירות אחרים, and this branch is going to, after a while, bring other fruits. הרי זה אילן, then it's a tree. ומברכים על פירותיו בורא פרי העץ, and you make a blessing on these fruits, בורא פרי העץ, the creator, the fruit of the tree. So that means that for example, grapes that grow on a vine is a tree, because the tree stays there until the next year the grapes grow again. And bananas, for example, which is a big tree, is adama, because once that branch with the bananas goes away, it wilts the entire branch, and for next year a new branch comes up with new. So since it's a new branch that comes up, even though it's a tall tree, it looks like it's actually a tall bush, it's not a tree. אבל אם כל כשינטל הפרי, but if once you take the fruit, לא יישאר ענף שיחזור ויוציא פירות אחרים, there's not going to remain a branch that next year you're going to get out of the same branch new fruits, אין מברכים על פירותיו בורא פרי העץ. You don't make a blessing, created the fruit of the tree, אלא בורא פרי האדמה. You make the blessing בורא פרי האדמה. So it has nothing to do with size, it has to do if the branch stays there or doesn't stay. משנתנו בא ללמד דיני הטועה בברכת הפירות. Our Mishnah comes to teach us what happens if you make a mistake in the blessing for the fruits or for the אדמה, for example. ברך על פירות האילן בורא פרי אדמה. You made a blessing on the fruit of a tree, and you by mistake said בורא פרי אדמה, fruit of the land. כגון שטעה בברכה, for example, he made a mistake in the blessing, ובמקום בורא פרי העץ, and instead of saying בורא פרי העץ, blessed the fruit of the tree, אומר בורא פרי אדמה, he says bless the fruit of the land, of the ground. או שטעה בפרי, שחשב על פרי העץ שהוא פרי האדמה. Or you thought that a fruit itself, that the fruit of the tree is a fruit of the land. Then what is it? Then what's the ruling? Do you have to make the blessing again, or you don't have to make the blessing again? So it says יצא. He did his obligation. יצא ידי חובתו, the person did his obligation בברכה זו, in this blessing. Why? שגם פירות האילן בכלל פרי האדמה. Because the fruit of the tree are included amongst fruit of the land. שהרי האילן יונק מן האדמה, because the tree takes its nourishment from the land, from the ground. ומכאן שאם אדם מסופק בפרי, and from here we learn that if you go and you're not sure, you go to the desert and you're starving and you see a fruit growing on something, you're not sure what it is, it's going to stay, if it's a fruit, or you're not a botanist, you don't know if it's going to grow next year from the same branch or not. So what do? What blessing do you make on that fruit? אם הוא פרי העץ או פרי אדמה, you don't know if this is fruit of the land or fruit of the ground or fruit of the tree. יברך בורא פרי אדמה. If once blesses בורא פרי אדמה, bless the fruit of the land, he's safe. Because even on the tree you can bless בורא פרי אדמה. Even on the... ועל פירות הארץ, but what happens if it's on the other way? It's the other way around. You take the fruit of the something which is fruit of the land, like a carrot, you make the blessing on it, borei pri ha'etz. A person makes a blessing on a carrot, borei pri ha'etz, created the fruit of the tree. אבל אם טהור בערך הפירות האדמה בורא פרי העץ, he exchanged, he made on a carrot, bless Ayub, fruit of the tree, created the fruit of the tree, לא יצא ידי חובתו, he didn't do his obligation. In other words, he still needs to make a blessing. His blessing was an incorrect blessing. שפירות האדמה אינם בכלל פרי העץ, that the fruit of the land are not included amongst the fruit of the tree. The tree is a subsection of the land, but the land is not a subsection of the tree. Al kulam, on all of these examples that we said before, land or tree or whatever it is, Kol Yeshenu Mishnah Aleph, and all the other things that we learned on Mishnah Aleph, על פירות האילן ועל פירות הארץ ועל ירקות, on the tree, on the fruit of the land, on all kind of vegetations, on leafy things, ואפילו ליין ועל הפת, even on wine, even on bread. All these things, אם אמר שהכל נהיה בדברו, if a person designated the special blessing that everything was created with his speech, that God created everything with his speech, אם תרה ובירך עליהם שהכל נהיה בדברו, if a person made a mistake and he blessed upon them שהכל נהיה בדברו, that everything he created became with his speech, יצא, he did his obligation, יצא ידי חובתו בדיעבד, he did his obligation if he made a mistake, אבל לכתחילה, but he shouldn't do it from the beginning. If he knows the designated the right blessing, one has to make the right blessing. צריך לברך על כל דבר, ברכתו מיוחדת לו. One needs to make the specific blessing, each one on its own. Even though they are all subsections of שהכל נהיה בדברו, that everything was created in anything, because we're talking about everything. So everything else is a subsection of that. בירושלמי מובא, in the Yerushalmi it's brought, שרבי יוסי חולק על משנתנו. It says Rabbi Yossi disagrees with our Mishnah. וסובר, and he thinks, כל המשנע ממטבע שטבעו חכמים בברכות, לא יצא ידי חובתו. That Rabbi Yossi says that if you didn't say the right blessing on the right thing, you didn't do your obligation and you have to re-say the blessing. אבל בבבלי, אמר רבי יוחנן, but in the Babylonian Talmud, Rabbi Yochanan says, שההלכה ועל כולם, אם אמר שהכל יצא, that on all kinds of food, if a person says that everything was created in his words, also you did your obligation, Mustaba Gamal Yain Vapat. It also goes on wine and bread, which we say the designated special blessings. V'alacha kmodo, and the halacha is like Rabbi Yochanan. V'ledat Rabbi Yochanan. So how does Rabbi Yochanan explains Rabbi Yossi? Ledat Rabbi Yochanan, מה שאמר Rabbi Yossi, according to Rabbi Yochanan, when Rabbi Yossi says, כל המשנה ממטבע שטבעו חכמים בברכות, לא יצא ידי חובתו, that Rabbi Yossi says, if you change anything for that the Rabbi has established how to make a blessing, you didn't do your obligation, how is he going to understand Rabbi Yossi? היינו דווקא דשכאמר, it says, this is when you invented your own bracha. It's not when you say the bracha that the sages established. כמו, for example, a person decided to say, כמה נאה פת זו, how beautiful is this piece of bread, ברוך המקום שברא, blessed is the Lord that created it, or כמה נאה תאנה זו, ברוך המקום שברא, or how good is this, how nice is this fig, blessed is the Lord that made it. הואיל וזו ברכה שלא תקנו חכמים, since this is a blessing that the sages did not establish, אינו יוצא בידו חובתו, he doesn't do his obligation, unless he said the right thing for the right thing, for the fig, בורא פרי העץ, and so on. אבל אם אמר שהכל נהיה בדברו, but if he said everything was created in his way, this is not a blessing that he invented. This is a blessing that the sages established. שזה ברכה שתקנו החכמים, this is a blessing that the sages established. אפילו according to רבי יוחנן, אפילו רבי יוסי מודה שיצא ידי חובתו. According to Rabbi Yochanan, even Rabbi Yossi is going to admit that in such a case, that a person did his obligation. Beram, but Rabbi Meir cholek al Rabbi Yossi bebraita. Rabbi Meir disagrees with Rabbi Yossi in a braita. Vesover, and he holds שאפילו באותה ברכה שלא תקנו חכמים. He holds that even in a blessing that the sages did not make specifically. In other words, you invented your own blessing. כגון כמה נאה פת זו, like how beautiful this bread is. ברוך המקום שברא. Blessed is the God that created it, according to him, Yatsa Yedei Chovato. He did his obligation, and this is according to Rabbi Meir, and that's why we understand that how Rabbi Yossi understands, how Rabbi Yochanan understands Rabbi Yossi. Up to here.